you please welcome Casey Schwab. Thank you, Bill. In poker, there's a saying that if you're sitting at a poker table and you're looking around and you're trying to find a sucker and you can't find him, you should probably get up. When I was preparing my remarks for today, I was trying to come up with what's the sports betting equivalent of that saying, called the unbeknownst sucker, right? And I could come up with it exactly, but what I concluded was that somehow, some way, it involves a Cleveland sports fan. I know we're in Cleveland, I'm a sports guy, it's easy. I also was telling my mom about this talk, and I told her I'm going to open with a joke. She said, Casey, don't open with a joke. And I told her what the joke was, and she said, Casey, don't go to Cleveland and open with a joke insulting people from Cleveland. So I guess I should listen to Mom. So let's take the Cleveland sports fan. The Cleveland sports fan is probably bitter. Call the Browns fan the bitter Browns fan. And Bill just told me that yesterday there was a bill introduced here in Ohio for sports betting. So let's say hypothetically that sports betting is legal as of today. So we have our bitter Browns fan who now can become a bitter Browns bettor. So our bitter Browns bettor is excited for the season. And he comes into the season and he places wagers on the Browns every week. And there's 2 games left in the season. The Browns find themselves 0-14. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm done ragging on the Browns. Let's just say hypothetically they're 0-14. And our bitter Browns bettor has lost a lot of money. And this is where the hypothetical gets a little bit serious, because like a lot of bettors, he has a problem. And he's on the brink of losing his house, his marriage is on the rocks. Every week, he keeps looking over his shoulder at what he lost last week, and he tries to make it back. So he's in serious debt. So week 15, he's got a plan. The Bengals are coming here, and let's just say the Bengals are 14-0. They're having a great season. So his plan is to bet on the Bengals. Bet big on the Bengals to make up for it. So he places a large wager, and he's at First Energy Stadium here in Cleveland. And the game's going on, and it's a close game. Nobody expected it, but that's the beauty of sports, right? So it comes down to the end of the game, and Cincinnati has the ball. It's 4th down, and they need to convert on 4th down, or they're going to turn the ball over, they're going to lose, and our bitter Browns bettor is going to lose that huge wager. Andy Dalton, the quarterback of the Bengals, drops back, gets sacked immediately. Bengals turn it over, they're about to lose, and our bitter Browns bettor is devastated. He's pissed off, and he looks up at the Jumbotron, and he sees the replay, and there's an offensive lineman for the Bengals named Eric Winston, 12-year NFL vet. Eric missed his block. It's like he wasn't even playing. So our bettor is pissed off at Eric. So he pulls out his phone. Who's this schmuck that just missed his block? He Googles him. It shows up a picture of Eric, his family, his wife Jenny, and their 3 kids. So this is what I thought gets very serious. So our bettor is walking out of the stadium, let's say 6 or 7 beers in, and who's he running into on the way to the parking lot? With Jenny and her 3 kids. So that story, that hypothetical that I just gave, went from fun and lighthearted to serious real fast, and that was intentional. Because sports should be lighthearted. It should be fun. That's why we watch. That's why we play. That's what we talk about at work. But they're also serious. There are also serious consequences, particularly for the athletes that play them. So because of those consequences, the athlete's voice must be heard, particularly as we contemplate sports betting in this country. I'm Casey Schwab, as Bill mentioned. I represent that athlete's voice. I'm here with my colleagues from other players' associations. We have baseball, basketball, hockey represented. And we're all here to talk to you. And we are all the PAs. We're not the leagues. We obviously work with the leagues and the owners. We represent the players. And we've heard from a lot of different stakeholders in this debate or this conversation about legalized sports betting, but we haven't heard much from the players. And now is the time to hear from us. So I'm going to raise 3 points, just talking points. I'm not going to be up here very long. So the real work, the how do we protect our players, that comes later. Come find us today, call us. That's when we roll up our sleeves together and we craft responsible legislation to protect our athletes. 3 points are athlete safety, privacy protection, and the integrity of sport through the lens of the athlete. So starting with athlete safety. I gave you the hypothetical for the story of the bitter Browns better. And what's scary about that story is that we're all Google creeps. Every one of you is a Google creep. Look to your left, look to your right, you've got 2 Google creeps. What's the definition of a Google creep? Somebody who Googles someone's name to learn more about it. Some of you might have even Googled me, or might have me up on your Google right now. So why is that scary? Because for our athletes, there's a lot of personal information. Their spouses, their kids, where they live, maybe where their kids go to school. We need to consider that access, that instant access to information for our athletes. Another form of access is through social media. At no other time in history have we all been so interconnected. And that's great. Our athletes have been able to engage with their fans directly. There are consequences to that. We all have heard of trolls and online bullying. So instead of me talking to you, I had one of our NFL players, record videos specifically on social media. And I figured it was better coming from him than me. And if you're listening to my story at the beginning, I hope you recognize him.
Hi, I'm Eric Winston, NFLPA president and 12-year NFL veteran. I know Casey's about to do a little speech about some of this, but I also felt like it was important for me to weigh in on my voice and talk about a little bit about social media and bullying that goes on of players and just overall discourse that happens. Obviously, social media has been a great advent for athletes, for entertainers, for people that are trying to reach their fans and have a great back and forth with them, get their message out and expand their reach. But there's also some downfalls and some pitfalls from it. And after games, after bad games, a receiver that's on a lot of fantasy football teams has a bad catch, gets hurt, and it ruins a lot of people's days. On fantasy football, of course, they don't look at that player as having a day ruined when he's gotten hurt either, unfortunately. So it also speaks to the overall issue going on of the dehumanization of athletes and workers to a certain standpoint. A lot of people look at us as a, I don't know if it's subhuman, but not necessarily them, not necessarily human, not necessarily having those feelings, having those issues that everybody else is having. And so when we start talking about social media, we start talking about the discourse we're having on social media, I do think it's important to keep the proper context of it, that we're all human and that we all have these issues, and that the discourse on there, we have to find a way to protect some of these guys and to give them the armor, so to speak, to protect themselves on there. And I know that I didn't go on social media a lot after bad games, and definitely don't like to look at the mentions, even though it's become part of our life. You see other athletes out there now that have created dual accounts and different accounts because of it, which I think is just goes to tell you how much of an issue it is. So as Casey speaks about it, I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm behind him, and I'm glad you guys are speaking about this, and that it is an issue going forward, and that we do need to think about it as it pertains to the overall sport and everything else. So thank you, and hopefully I'll see you all soon.
So Eric mentioned a really awesome phrase. That's the dehumanization of athletes. Think about that. So a lot of people, when they watch professional sports, they almost view the athletes like avatars on a video game. And our athletes love their title of professional athlete. That's not the title that defines them. It's friend, brother, sister, mom, dad, they're people. So to humanize Eric a little bit, I don't know if you can tell in the video, but dude is huge. He is huge. So first of all, that means I didn't tell. Obviously, I talked to him about this talk at my address today, but I didn't tell him that the hypothetical was going to involve him blowing a big play. So please don't tweet at him. But what it also means is you look at him and you're like, dude's huge. He's a grown man. What does he care about a little Twitter bullying? Why is he even looking at that stuff, right? He's an athlete, he's a dad, he's a businessman. He's NFLPA president. Unfortunately, we've heard harrowing stories from around the world, in different sports throughout history, of athletes being kidnapped, blackmailed, assaulted, and killed. And I don't say all of those things to be melodramatic, I really don't. But I say them because they're real. And no matter how remote the possibility that happens, we got to think about it. All of us. The consequences are too grave not to for our athletes and their families. So athlete safety is number one. Privacy. Protecting the privacy of our athletes. At the beginning of the summer, the Lakers were 20-1 odds to win the NBA title this year. The night that LeBron James announced publicly that he was leaving Cleveland, I'm not going to make a joke, the night he announced that he was leaving Cleveland and going to LA, those odds went to 7-2. So let's call it 3.5 to 1. So 20-1 to 3.5 to 1, like that. Imagine if you had that information the day before or the week before. You could have gotten a pretty good deal at 20-1. So that information, what our athletes are doing, where they're going, that's valuable, has a price tag on it. And as more money goes into sports betting, that price tag goes up. So we need to protect our athletes and protect that information. When I talk about information, I also mean data. So performance data, our NFL players wear GPS trackers in their shoulder pads, practicing games. So it tracks their movement. And you can imagine a DB, a defensive back, and a receiver, if you had their practice, their miles per hour, their velocity, their acceleration, you could use that data. Or people smarter than me in sports analytics, they do predictive modeling, use it in elections and use it in sports. Predictive modeling, all it is taking a bunch of data points, putting it in, and trying to predict what's going to happen. Biometric data. So our athletes wear like Fitbits or more sophisticated, and it tracks their heart rate, tracks their sleep. How long did they sleep? How well did they sleep? How long were they in REM sleep versus not? Our athletes have compression shorts. This is amazing. Compression shorts that through their sweat can actually track their metabolic rate. So how quickly and how well their body is metabolizing calories. It's amazing. If you take all those data points, and again, someone much smarter than me can take all those data points, put them into an algorithm, and spit out predictive analysis. And as more money goes into betting, the price tag of all that information goes up. Because what is betting? It's just predicting an outcome, right? So as the value goes up, so does the need to protect it. We need to build a fortress around all of our athletes. Because that data is highly personal, it's private, and they own it. So athlete safety and privacy, the first 2 points. Finally, the integrity of sport. So we've heard from a lot of different people about preserving the integrity of sport. And this is, believe it or not, one instance where the players, we agree with our owners on this. We gotta protect it. It's a basic premise. The game ain't rigged. Everybody's trying their hardest. But from the athlete's perspective, slightly nuanced, and I would argue, and I'm biased, but the athlete's perspective is the most important. Because let me ask you this, and it's not rhetorical. Who's going to be in the crosshairs if you imagine a sports match-fixing scandal? Who's it going to be? Nobody stood up and yelled, but the athlete, right? They're going to be at the center. They're going to be at the bullseye. So when we talk about integrity of sport through the lens of the athlete, the first thing that comes to mind is due process. And I do mean criminal due process, but I also mean due process in the court of social media. As the MLBPA Executive Director Tony Clark said this morning in an op-ed, the court of social media. We cannot be in a world in which accusation equals condemnation, without due process, a neutral fact finder, and confidentiality. Because if we live in that world, those accusations, if they're unfounded, still have their consequences. It's going to damage the athlete and his or her career. It's also going to damage the sport. And not just at that level. So think about, if there's a match-fixing accusation that's unfounded in the NFL, it's going to hurt the athlete, the player that I work for and I represent. It's going to hurt the sport, the NFL. It's also going to hurt college football, high school football, and Pee Wee football. Parents aren't going to want their kids to play because of the risks. So another component of integrity of sport through the lens of the athlete is a safe harbor. I told you about all that information. All that information is valuable, right? So you can imagine somebody comes up to one of our players at a bar and says, "Hey, I'll give you $5,000. Just nod your head to confirm this rumor I heard about your teammate." It's like insider information, right? Our athlete needs a place to go, a safe harbor, someone to call. And you say, okay, well, don't they have coaches? What if it's the coach? What if the coach says, don't swing at the pitch, miss the shot? Now the athlete has two options. Listen to the coach and commit misconduct. Or don't listen to the coach and get benched and potentially get cut. We need to make a third option. We need to give them that resource. And finally, ending on a resource, is education. We have to educate our athletes. And this is a shared responsibility. It's us, the PAs, it's the leagues, it's the owners, it's the stakeholders in this room, and the lawmakers in this room. We have to arm our athletes with the tools necessary to face the impact of sports betting. So, safety, privacy, and the integrity of sport. So I've been up here talking to you for whatever, 10, 15 minutes. And I told you the story of the bitter Browns better. And it got serious and scary. And I laid out all these consequences. And it kind of sounds doom and gloom, probably. And I don't want it to come off that way. There are opportunities associated with sports betting. First and foremost, the past will overturned. Now we can wrap our arms together around the illegal betting market. We can wrap our arms around it, we can craft responsible legislation around it. That's an opportunity. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention there are also commercial opportunities. Commercial opportunities for our athletes. Are people going to watch sports more, watch them longer, resulting in higher broadcast and distribution deals, which we get a cut of as athletes? Yeah. Are we excited about that? Hell yeah. But that comes next. First, we have to get it right. First, we have to protect the athletes. And the final positive note that I want to end on is that there is no greater unifier than sport. Excuse me. I wish I could take credit for that quote. I can't. Pope Francis said that at the Vatican at a conference on sport a couple years ago. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool idea, right? Sports as the world's greatest unifier of people. What he meant was sports brings together friends, as we'll see on Sunday, during the World Cup finals. People from around the globe huddle around the TV to watch the World Cup. Families, a dad and his daughter shooting hoops out in the driveway. And nations. As we saw earlier this year in the Winter Olympics, when North Korea marched to South Korea. That's pretty cool. Sports as the greatest unifier. And at the center of sport, at the heart of sport, is the athlete. And the athlete's voice must be heard. Thank you very much.